Welcome to today's new family orientation session. Before we begin, we have a few important housekeeping notes to cover.
La traducción al español para esta sesión es proporcionada por Wordly, una herramienta de traducción en tiempo real. Para acceder a este contenido en español, haga clic en el icono del globo en la barra de herramientas del lado derecho de la pantalla y seleccione Español en la lista de opciones de traducción.
Today's session is being recorded. Recordings will be available approximately 3 hours after the session ends. You can find session recordings in your session schedule or in the on-demand page of the Hub. To ask questions during this session, click on the Q&A button in the panel to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can, either during the session or at the end. You can submit questions anonymously. Please don't share any personal information in questions, as questions will be visible to all guests. If you see a question in the Q&A panel that you want to see answered, upvote it to let our team know. Lastly, we ask that you please join us in upholding and promoting UC San Diego's principles of community, and in keeping our community free from any and all forms of discrimination and harassment. Now let's get started with today's new family orientation session.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining today. My name is Todd Olivieri. I'm the Director for Student Employment and Career Development at UC San Diego, and today we're going to explore how student employment and work study at UC San Diego can do more than help students earn money. It really can help build valuable, transferable skills that employers are looking for. So today, I'm going to be joined by Helen Stapleton on our team and Annika Santos. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to take you through a series of slides. And in the background, we have Diana Vargas and also Andrew Weidler. They're doing all the technology for us, and then they're going to join us when we get to the Q&A. So at the end here, our agenda here is really to talk about what is that value proposition for student employment. We're going to show you that through some student success stories and the types of jobs that students are doing. We're going to explain what work study is and how students can apply for student employment. Also going to provide you with a number of resources and supports that are available for students, and then open it up for Q&A. You'll also be able to just ask questions throughout, and many of them will answer, but then some of them will just hold to the end because it may be something that we want to share with the entire group. So as we move on to our next slide, we want to talk about the program and really what it's about. So student employment, it's an important high impact practice. It provides thousands of opportunities for students to work part-time and develop on-the-job skills, make connections throughout the campus, and enhance their educational experience at UC San Diego. We use a students first lens because we know our students are enrolled in rigorous academic programs. So there's limits placed on the amount of hours they can work during the academic terms. So the student jobs, they're intended to be part-time opportunities because students are here first and foremost to get an education. So when we say experience on purpose, what we mean is that these are work experiences that are both intentional and meaningful. And I mentioned that student employment is a high impact practice, and you may be wondering, well, what is that? What makes it high impact? Well, there's 4 main components, and number 1 is the time spent on the task. So on-the-job learning over a quarter or an academic year. 2 is developing competencies and skills. The 3rd component is feedback and mentoring with a student employee supervisor, department leaders, and other staff in the department. And the last part there is reflection, where students have an opportunity to synthesize what they're learning in the classroom with what they're learning on their job. And our program employs over 6,000 students in over 200 departments across the campus. So there's many opportunities for students to get involved. Student employment also impacts retention because it helps students pay for a portion of their educational expenses while building skills and core competencies, and it prepares them for their first job out of college. So what I like to say is that when student employment is implemented as a high impact practice, it becomes a robust student success strategy that provides the scaffolding to help launch students from college to career. And through this program, we aim to build a culture of success by engaging the community to help us promote the outstanding work and achievement of our students and the impact that they're making on UC San Diego. So students need to see how they can be successful and how their role on campus can be transformative in their career development. So these are some of the faces of student success. We're going to take you through some of these profiles to take a closer look at student employment and hear what these students have to say about their experience working on campus.
So first we have Maya. She was a communications assistant at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and after graduating last year, she was able to secure a job as a talent coordinator with the Ryman Agency in Los Angeles, which is a marketing firm that drives digital and commercial streams of revenue for both talent and brands.
Kyle Hurley was a flight coordinator in the Center for Western Weather and Water Extremes at Scripps Institution in Oceanography. Some of the advice he would give other student employees is to chase your dreams, even if they seem impossible.
Dottie was a PhD student who worked as a community liaison for graduate and family housing. She said that her time in BGE LLC gave her the chance to improve her teamwork skills and helped her to focus on what was needed most for her project while maintaining boundaries appropriate for her mental health. Those are all skills that helped her in her first career role.
Daniel G. was a research assistant for the Department of Medicine. He worked on projects with the CDC. Daniel will be continuing his studies this fall and is pursuing his master's in computer science at UCSD. When asked how might you apply your student employment experience and the skills gained during your time at UC San Diego to your professional career, he said that interpersonal and technical skills will definitely carry over to any biology-related field I go in.
And during her first year at UC San Diego, Arwen worked in broadcast production for athletics. She spent much of her time as a camera operator for various sporting events and also worked in audio engineering and directing shows for the video board in the arena. The broadcast experience proved really valuable, but she realized that her heart was in photography. She started shooting for athletics in her second year and was recently recognized in an article in UC San Diego Today about the various student employment positions in athletics. The article will come up in the links in the Q&A soon.
Arden is a marine biology major working at Birch Aquarium. When asked about what advice they have for other students, Arden encouraged students to look for jobs that align with their career goals, even if it's not obvious at first. They also emphasize the importance of being around professionals in your field, seeking out opportunities to network, and not forgetting to strike a balance between school and work, which I could tell you will be critical to your success as a student employee.
And Michael is a research assistant, and we wanted to highlight Michael's experience because we have over 600 paid research jobs where students are getting hands-on experience working with faculty mentors and all types of research projects happening at UC San Diego. And lastly, we have Priscilla, and one of the biggest benefits of student employment is that working on campus gives students an opportunity to get hands-on experience in their field. And that can give them a head start when looking for jobs or applying for grad school. And so Priscilla, she's a shining example of a student who leveraged her education and her work experience to launch her to the next phase of her career. She earned an undergraduate degree in aerospace engineering in 2024 at UC San Diego, and then went on to complete her master's in mechanical engineering. While she was an undergraduate, her job was in the aerospace fabrication lab in the mechanical aerospace engineering department. And after completing her master's in June 25, she's now working at the Vandenberg Space Force Base, where she landed a job building, testing, and launching rockets for SpaceX. So this combination of her outstanding academic achievements and these work-based learning opportunities were really a catalyst and helped launch her from her college to her career. So next, we're going to talk about experiential learning and the link with student employment. And, what is experiential learning? What are we referring to there? And, it's essentially, it's a fancy way of describing hands-on work opportunities or the process of learning by doing. Experiential learning is a wide range of opportunities. So it includes student employment, study abroad, faculty-led research, service learning, and also internships. And what makes experiential learning different from other jobs is that when students engage in these applied experiences while working with a supervisor or mentor, they're encouraged to reflect on their unique value to the world of work and gain confidence in their career preparation. So we want to talk about the power of experiential learning. Before we get deeper into what student employment is here at UC San Diego, we want to take a look outside of UC San Diego. And why is experiential learning important? What does the data say? So the data indicates a lot. So as the Cengage Group report, it's recent graduates believe their program taught them the skills. 41% of recent graduates believe their program alone taught them the skills needed for their first job. Meaning most students believe that gaining practical work experience in combination with their degree better prepared them for their first job out of college. And for the Business Higher Ed Forum, they did a report on internships. And we know internships are often looked at as the most valuable experiences for students in their career development. And they're very important. But we know secure and off-campus internships has become increasingly competitive, as evidenced by these statistics. Plus, many internship programs are unpaid, making it difficult for many students to take an unpaid internship while also covering their living expenses. The data also shows that students of color, first-generation students, and those who are financially vulnerable, they face some of the worst odds of securing an off-campus internship. And the National Association of Colleges and Employers, they're an organization that works both with colleges and with employers looking to, they serve as an intermediary where they're the body that's helping colleges figure out how should we be training our students? What is industry saying, and how can we apply that to the courses, to the experiences? And so they did a recent study in April, and they released, and they were surveying early career professionals, so in their first couple of years after their undergraduate experience. And those students who participated in experiential learning, they were further along in their career, and they were on average, were making more money than people who did not do experiential learning. So it's important to develop those on-the-job skills because those really accelerate your career, and that's what gets students paid and furthers their career. So we know that the experiential learning, it's profoundly, there's an impact on Gen Z's career development. We see it in all this data. And so this gives us the reason why we're doing this work and why we're trying to create the opportunities on campus to fill the void where there's not as many internship opportunities. So we're trying to create what is essentially like an on-campus internship program through the student employment program. The next slide I want to highlight is from the American Association of Colleges and Universities. And this is what employers value in students. So the report suggests that employers see value in a much broader spectrum of work-based experiences, not just internships, but work study, leadership experiences, and development of e-portfolios. And among the over 1,000 employers who were in this study, work study experiences specifically were valued just as highly as internships. And given the amount of work study and leadership opportunities available on most campuses relative to the shrinking number of internships that are offered off campus, this is the reason that we're expanding our program and trying to develop more of that internship, on-campus internship, to really help students get that experience and with the intent of closing those equity gaps for our students. So let's get into the benefits. There's a lot of benefits. So we talked about a lot of those aspects of experiential learning, but the number one benefit is it gives a student an opportunity to earn some money to assist with their educational and expenses, to gain some valuable work experience, helps them build their career portfolio, improves their core competencies and transferable skills, and those strengthen their marketability to future employers. So some of those key important competencies that department or employers are looking for is teamwork, communication, professionalism. Those are the things that they're going to learn on the job. They're also building relationships and expanding their professional networks by connecting with staff, faculty, and students. UC San Diego is the largest employer of the county, so there's a wide network here beyond just the student body. And the students get an opportunity to engage in professional development opportunities, all within this learning lab environment, so to help students become successful. So a student employment job, it really becomes a launching pad for a student's career, helping them build the confidence and skills that they can articulate what they learned and what their value to that employer can be. Next, we'll talk a little bit about work study. So we mentioned work study, and you know, this is for students who've been awarded work study. Many parents may know a little bit about a work study program from their other children or other experience. But the way work study is the way it works at UC San Diego. It's information that students are awarded by the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office at UC San Diego. And we work in collaboration with them. So if we move on, we'll kind of dig into this a little bit more. So federal work study, it's a federal student aid program. It funds part-time job opportunities for undergraduate students. All work study jobs are intended to be part-time opportunities that pay at least minimum wage, and work study awards are not applied directly to student accounts. Rather, students, they work and earn money each week and earn a paycheck. That helps to assist them paying for books, transportation, fees, and other personal expenses. And it's part of the UC president's debt-free program, where what the UC, University of California, is trying to do is trying to, in place of student loans, provide work study opportunities for students who have financial need. And so let's talk a little bit about eligibility. So to be eligible for work study, it's determined by the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Students fill out their FAFSA in order to qualify for the grants, work study, and student loans as well. The work study program provides funding to colleges and universities, and we get about $2 million, and we take that $2 million and then we use it to fund the wages for students when they work those jobs. So another benefit is if a student does work study, it reduces the need for them to take student loans. It leaves them with less debt and lets them explore careers while also gaining work experience. So if a student is awarded work study, the important thing to remember is they must accept the award to be able to use it. Just getting that award it's not cash. They have to actually earn that. And how do students figure that out? Well, they go to Triton Link, and that's where they can see their award notification from the Financial Aid Office and check to see if they've been awarded. So let's these are real top things that we want to kind of hammer home. So being awarded work study doesn't guarantee you a job. You still have to apply for the job. So lots of students get awarded a work study, but they have to accept that award and then apply for the job. And they're not applied directly to the tuition. It's not a grant applied to the student account. It's basically a placeholder to say that you're eligible for work study, and if you work, you can earn those funds. And then, so you work hourly, you're paid at least minimum wage, but we have a bunch of, a wide range of job on campus and pay rates, depending on the skills that are required for that job. And students, as we mentioned, they're here to be students, and so it's a part-time, not to exceed 19.5 hours per week. And not all work-study jobs are on campus. We also manage the off-campus work-study program. So we have a couple of research centers that are close by in nonprofit. So if a student is interested in research and there's opportunities in those nonprofits, work-study students can work in those. We also do literacy tutors where we send work-study students out into the community to work with secondary schools, primary and secondary schools for literacy tutoring.
All student employment jobs, including work study, are posted on Handshake. Handshake is a free online career management hub that gives students access to jobs and internship postings, career fair and employer events, professional development workshops, and more. Handshake is an easy to navigate and is one of the most common job search platforms used at colleges and universities all across the country. To get started, students will go to joinhandshake.com and use their UC San Diego student email address to create their profile. After setting up their profile, they can filter and search for job postings based on their interest. When people think of student jobs at UC San Diego, they might think of a number of service jobs that we have in dining halls and in transportation. But as the previous student employee profile showed, there are a wide range of jobs on campus where students have incredible opportunities to develop skills and core competencies that may be related to their major or even their career goals. Here on this slide are a few more examples of the scope of the type of jobs available in the student employment program. The list of jobs here is really just a very small sample of some of the amazing and high impact opportunities our students have across campus. All of the jobs you see on this slide, and so many others that are not listed here, demonstrate the transformative potential of student employment here at UC San Diego, where students can gain meaningful experience that sets the foundation for their future success.
So how can a student ensure that they're a competitive candidate in the application process? Our Student Employment Toolkit provides essential resources to help students prepare their application materials, find a student employment job, and kickstart their career journey. From the Student Employee Handbook and job search tips to resume and cover letter guidance and interview preparation, the Student Employment Toolkit has got you covered. Whether students are looking to apply for a job, utilize their work-study award, or navigate getting paid, all the tools they need are located in one place on the Student Employment website. Another great resource for students is the Co-Curricular Record, or CCR. This is a transcript of student engagement across campus that showcases the competencies developed through participating in campus activities outside of the classroom. The 12 UC San Diego competencies are foundational to the Co-Curricular Record and the Student Employment Program. A minimum of 3 competencies will be on every student employment job description and every CCR experience. These competencies are the core skills that employers seek in college graduates that contribute to career readiness and success in the workplace. They also give students a vocabulary to use when talking about the skills that they developed through their experiences in the language that employers and grad programs are looking for. Activities that can be featured on the Co-Curricular Record highlight experiences in community-based and global learning, professional and career development, research and academic life, and student engagement and campus life. Examples include leadership and mentorship opportunities, community service projects, student government involvement, research and internship experiences, study abroad programs, intramural sports teams, campus orgs and clubs, and of course, on-campus student employment. At UC San Diego, learning transcends the classroom, and working in the student employment program helps to develop critical career readiness skills such as communication, teamwork, leadership, and professionalism, which are all key competencies that employers seek from new grads. The CCR adds value because it provides a verified record of professional growth that can be shared with future employers and potential grad schools. CCR is a powerful tool to help students build their career portfolio and translate their student employment work experiences into career success.
And next, we want to talk a little bit about professional development. We talked at the top how it's a robust student success strategy. And it becomes that when we put all these elements in there. And what we're doing here is we believe that it's critical for students to augment their on-the-job work experience with comprehensive professional development. So the Student Employment Professional Development Program, it's been designed as a robust learning lab for students that impacts career readiness and strengthens transferable skills and competencies. And so we're applying a model from the Center for Creative Leadership, CCL. They have a leadership model, 70-20-10, and we're taking this framework and we're applying it as a student employment professional development model, where 70% of the work is developing skills and core competencies through that on-the-job training. 20%, that's the workplace learning through teamwork and mentorship from a student employee supervisor. And then that final 10%, that's formal learning through workshops and asynchronous learning. And as Helen mentioned, co-curricular record, that rounds out the experience for the students. And we also have developed a number of professional development bundles in UC Learning. So UC Learning is very much like LinkedIn Learning, where when a student works on campus, they have access to the UC Learning just like an employee does. And so with those 12 competencies that Helen mentioned, we've aligned all the asynchronous learning modules, those professional development modules, to all those competencies. So if a student wants to dig deeper into leadership, there's a bunch of learning modules in there for them to work on those. And then what we've also done is we've developed, using the competencies as that framework, a self-evaluation, so a student can evaluate themselves on the job, maybe at the end of the academic year or at the end of the quarter, rate themselves on the competencies. And then we've aligned a supervisor evaluation with those competencies as well. So the student rates themselves, much like a job evaluation that many of us are familiar with. When you get evaluated by your supervisor, you do your self-evaluation, and then the supervisor evaluation does an evaluation for you. So we're using those competencies as a language to help teach the students, and then also give them feedback for them to work on some of those competencies in that job experience. And then also there's the reflection assignment, also having students reflect on what they're learning, what they learned on this particular experience, and what they might be able to take to that next learning experience, whether it's another internship or another job on campus or their first job after UC San Diego. And finally, there's the Career Center resources. And we partner with the Career Center. It's extremely important for students to be connecting with a coach. So we provide with them, the Career Center, to provide added assistance in preparing their job and application materials to provide coaching as students are navigating that undergraduate experience and evaluating their career prospects. So not just for on-campus jobs, for, as I mentioned, off-campus internships, or maybe that first experience, that job experience, doing mock interviews. So we encourage students to start early and meet with a career coach. And what the Career Center, they provide a ton of resources. You can see some of them here. So they provide that essential guidance and resources to help students explore career pathways, internships, employment opportunities, and develop professional skills. They offer a number of services, including that one-on-one career coaching, resume cover letter reviews, mock interviews, and so much more, really to help students prepare to be successful in their job searches. And as I mentioned, we recommend that they meet with a career coach, review their resume, give them advice on their cover letter, starting in the student employment experience, but then also as they continue on in their job search. And we partner with the Career Fair on many events and in many ways. And one of those is through the Fall Career Fair. So this is the second or the third annual work study fair that we are running in collaboration with the Career Fair. It's on Thursday, October 9th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Lion Tree Arena. We encourage you to encourage your students to attend, even if they don't want to work on campus or even if they do. This is in partnership with the Career Center. So there'll be a bunch of employers coming on campus for students who are further along in their undergraduate career and grad students, but also we're going to host on-campus departments. And so the primary objectives for the Student Employment Fair, they're to promote the work study and non-work study positions and inform students about the application process, how to apply for these jobs. We have a number of employers that will represent their departments to talk to the students. And it gives those students an opportunity to talk to the departments, talk to the hiring departments. What are they looking for? Do they hire later in the cycle? Are there other jobs that they work with that might not be open now, but might be open in the future? Kind of getting that intel from those departments. And then it also gives those hiring managers an opportunity to talk to students who are actively looking for a job. So you might be starting and you want to work on campus and you need to find a job because you got a work study award and your parents told you have to figure it out. So now you're going, we'll go to a career fair. We have a number of departments who are actively recruiting to hire students in the fall that will be there. So we encourage you to encourage your students to attend, because it really, although they may just be starting their career starts the day they walk on campus. Now, there's a lot that they're going to be exposed to in their first quarter and in their first year, but they need to be starting to think about their career from day one. So we're going to bring the whole team on right now. We're going to bring Helen, Diana, Andrew, and Annika back, and we're going to go through QA. Diana is going to, she's going to help us here. She's been going through all the questions that have been submitted, and she's going to prompt us with those questions, and we'll do our best to answer as many of these questions as possible. So take it away, Diana.
Thank you, Todd. Hi, everyone. We had a few questions that had the most amount of votes. So to get us started, how hard is it to get an on-campus position? Are there only select number of jobs?
So I think we'll throw it out to the whole team, but there's a few different answers and a few different perspectives. It depends on the cycle. As we mentioned, there's over 6,000 students working on campus, and there's students who graduate and roll off of jobs. So there's always positions coming up. There's obviously in the fall there's a push for maybe students or departments thought some students were coming back, and then their plans change, so they need to hire. So we're working diligently with departments to kind of figure those out. And that's why we put together these resources, this toolkit, to really help students to become as competitive as possible. And Annika does some great work with our Instagram channel. I'm going to have her talk about what we do with hot jobs.
Yes, if you haven't already, feel free to follow us at UCSD Student Jobs with a Z. About every week we post 3 to 5 jobs that usually open for the next 2 weeks. So you have plenty of time to read it, see if you're interested, and also write your resume. And that'll be posted on our Instagram.
And just to pick up on that, so as Annika mentioned in the presentation, all the jobs are posted on Handshake. That's the platform, so it's open. But also, there's a lot of jobs on there. So what we're trying to do is get to the students, meet the students where they are, and they're on Instagram. And so we're trying to use Instagram as much as possible to kind of get those pockets. And as I mentioned, the toolkit, and I'll definitely throw it out to the team, to Andrew and Diana and Helen to add your comments as well.
Yeah, I can share some context on the challenges or how easy it is to get a job on campus. And I think the best advice I have for students is you really need to be persistent. Like Todd said, there are postings all throughout the year. The fall might have the highest volume of recruitments, but that doesn't mean that we're not approving jobs every day. We typically see anywhere between 3 and 5, even up to 10 new postings potentially any given day. And so really being dedicated and persistent, checking Handshake for new postings, being active and really going for it. If you see a job that you're interested in to apply, there can be jobs with a high number of applicants. I think that's the nature of a university of this size. And so I don't say that to deter anyone or to make anyone nervous about it, but it gives you some real world experience with job applications and how you can't just sit back and expect to get a job. You need to have some assertiveness and like I said, dedication and persistence and continuing to check Handshake because your dream job could be there.
Yeah, and I would just add, to kind of echo what Andrew said, that there are some jobs that get a lot of applicants. So just to make sure that when people are applying for jobs, that they are being patient, that they're, reading when the posting closes, and kind of keeping in mind that, a lot of departments have a handful of people maybe that are doing the hiring, but they may have a lot more applicants than that. So, just to have some patience with departments, and, they will reach out. It may just take a little bit of time.
And the other thing I wanted to mention is there's that aspect of getting your foot in the door as well. One of the profiles we showed was Arwen, and she was an athletics student. She didn't start as a photographer. She started behind the scenes, and her passion, and by getting into that department and making those connections, she knew the cycles and she knew when that was available. And she talked to her supervisor, and she talked to the folks in the department to get a better sense of what that cycle was and how she might get promoted or move into one of those. So that's the other thing. That's why we do the work study fair as well, is to get departments on campus, those hiring departments talking to the students, so students have that intel from what the departments are really looking for.
And one last piece I'll add as well is we talked about resume cover letters throughout the presentation. Really want to emphasize the importance of them, but not just having them and preparing them, but writing different unique ones for each job you apply to. Departments are very smart. They know when a student is using a custom template and you're just swapping out a few words here and there. So going to the extra length, writing a custom cover letter, writing custom resume, looking for the skills and the abilities and the tasks that a job is asking for or expecting a student to perform, and looking for opportunities to leverage your own background and experience to best fit that role.
Thank you so much for all of that information. Next top question. What is the earliest a first-year student can apply for a job?
Diana, I think you're an expert in that, and you should answer that.
Thank you. My video has been lagging now, so I will be removing myself, but I can answer this question. So students can start applying, or could have started applying as early as July 1st. They have received access to Handshake as of June 15th. So all during the summer, you could have been applying or at least viewing jobs that might interest you. And jobs are posted daily. I know Andrew and Annika approve a lot of jobs during the summer, so they might know what's out there right now. If you could give us some insight of what types of jobs have been posted, or what jobs do we expect to be posted, because somebody did ask that.
Yeah, I can do a quick check. Maybe we can move on to another question for right now, and we can maybe circle back after we have taken a look to see what type of jobs are out there right now.
We can do that while you're looking. Let's put Annika on the spot a little bit here, because she's been managing these hot jobs. So what are some of the most recent hot jobs that we had posted?
Yes, absolutely. Ones that come to mind right now, transportation is hiring 2 different positions. I can't remember off the top of my head what they exactly do, but I know there's 2, and I believe they are hiring for multiple students into those positions. And one that also comes to mind is Triton to Triton, which is like a peer type of and mentoring type of position to help students who maybe are struggling transitioning into college. I would personally love to read about them. But yeah, that's just a little sneak peek. Follow us on
Awesome.
Instagram.
Yeah, so it looks like we have about 70 jobs currently live on Handshake. That number is, I would say, a bit low. I would expect it to increase pretty dramatically here between now and the start of the fall. We typically will see at any given time, at least in the fall period, between 100 and 125 active jobs on Handshake. So there will be plenty of opportunities to find some of these jobs and apply. Looking at some of the roles that are out there right now, we have several jobs for within HDH, Housing, Dining, and Hospitality. That's one of our highest employing departments on campus of student employees. It looks like we have a field services representative, which I believe is through ITS. We have a bookstore position, a lot of positions through campus recreations like lifeguards, swim instructors. So if you have any experience or background in that, there could be plenty of opportunities within rec as well. So I think that's just a quick snapshot of what we have out there right now.
And that's currently, and then, what we do as a department, we're tracking it throughout the year. As we mentioned, there's cycles, and Helen's been doing some great work for our team on this. We have a dashboard, so we're tracking it. So we want to know what are the cycles for the departments so that we can better advise students as well. And so there's trends, obviously, and certain departments. When we first started doing the work study fair, we had some departments say to us, "Hey, could you do it in spring? Because that's our big ramp up hiring cycle, not the fall." And so it really depends on the department. So maybe we can ask Helen to just give us a little bit of context on the kind of monthly hiring.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always the beginning of the quarter is always the most popular time. That's when we get the most applicants and the most postings. Departments have kind of learned when students tend to be looking, so that's when they tend to post them. So August and September and October are definitely, we mentioned earlier, fall is the really big push to the beginning of the new year. So that's when there'll be a lot of jobs, but we also see kind of peaks in January. So coming back from the holidays, in May and June, actually, because a lot of departments are open year round. We have several departments open to the public. For example, we have a public aquarium. We mentioned Arden, who works at Birch Aquarium. And so we do have a lot of departments that hire for summer jobs. So, even if you have a student that is going to be in San Diego, when classes are not in session, they can, get a job. And a lot of times those jobs work more hours because it's during the summer. I will say some of the most, I saw another question come through, and I'm sorry to jump, Diana, but there are a lot of jobs within our health system for students. There's not a lot of jobs in patient care, so they won't be, actually treating patients because they're still students, but our research health departments and some of the other non-patient facing hospital departments, they actually employ probably about 600 to 800 students a year. And those jobs tend to be really, really popular. So when they pop up, you gotta, jump on those to get that application in.
Thank you, Helen. I know there's a vast variety of jobs on campus, so we can't name them all, but we can say there's a lot of different jobs in different industries and what you're looking for. We know health is really popular. Another top voted question is, for full-time students, how many hours do you suggest they work per week on campus?
Well, we do know that there's studies that say students who work more than 20 hours that negatively impacts their grades. So we generally speaking recommend 10 to 15 hours, and it really depends on what the students are doing, what that role is, what they're, are they doing an off-campus work study position? Is it on campus? And what are their other commitments? Are they also trying to do some unpaid research in addition to their class? So it's situational, but our general guidance is 10 to 15 hours, and that's good complement of work experience along with their studies.
And the really nice thing too, at least with on-campus employment, is that departments know that students are students first. They're there to learn. They're there to advance their education. And so they will be aware of a student's class schedule and they'll work around the schedule. They're not going to ask them to have to skip class or to prioritize their work over their classes. And the midterms and finals always are prioritized as well. And so it's a really nice balance between having those work opportunities while also maintaining your student first status and needs.
Thank you, Andrew. Next question. If your student accepts their work study, are they only employed until the funds run out?
Another great question. Diana is one of our resident work study experts. And so we're going to spread the wealth here and let her answer this one.
I could definitely take that on. So there are positions that are work study preferred, work study given priority. So those types of positions will typically take any students regardless of work study award. Now there are work study required positions. These are departments who identified themselves as needing a little bit of assistance. So for example, we mentioned our off-campus federal work study program. Now that program requires a student to have federal work study in order to be employed. And unfortunately, the position does end when their award has ended. So once you've earned your full work study award amount, your position does end, but you gain that valuable experience. However, you can still look for other on-campus roles that may or may not require work study who will gladly employ you with or without work study award.
And then just to add to that, so that's an off-campus example, but many departments, so once a student has earned their work study, let's say it's $2,100 and they get a work study award and it's $2,100 and they've earned that. Well, the department's invested in that student, they've trained them and they're doing great work in their department. So they don't necessarily want to lose that student. So if it's an on-campus position, most departments have that operational budget available so that they'll just switch the funding over. So the funding student continues to work and the funds come out of the operational funds. So it's if you look at $2,100 and if you're making $18, $19 an hour, you can go through that pretty quick. So there are opportunities for students to earn all of their work study and then continue to work. As we mentioned, there's about $2 million of work study funding. And when we spend a whole lot more of that on student wages throughout the academic year. And also, if a student doesn't qualify for work study, there's still ways for them to work in the student employment program. They just don't get funded with work study.
Thank you, Todd. That is a key piece that makes UC San Diego a good place for students to work. Is you don't need work study to get a job. If you have it, that's great. So along that realm, can you accept work study and still apply for on-campus jobs right now? So, for example, what if a student accidentally declines their work study award, but now they want to accept it after the session? What can they do?
Good question. Diana, maybe you want to take that from your work in going back and forth with our lovely colleagues in the financial aid office.
Yes, I love I love work study. I love talking about work study. So yeah, so if your student or if you as a student has declined your work study award, You can log into your Triton Link portal. We dropped it in the Q&A section, so you might have to scroll up for that. But log into your Triton Link and see if the system does allow you to accept it. If the system does not allow you to, I recommend some patience, but contact the financial aid office to see if you can reverse that decision, and you can accept your work study award from there. And you can definitely be applying to jobs as you're waiting for a response or while your work study switch is happening. So I would not wait. I would just start looking at what jobs are out there on Handshake, what interests you, and start applying. Okay. Anybody else want to add something to that? Have we seen something out there for students? If not, let's go to the next question. And this is more in the realm of, I already have a job. Can students work during breaks as well?
Why, yes, they can. Maybe we can hear from Andrew on this one.
Yeah, of course. So yes, so we do have a couple different breaks throughout the year. So there is our campus closure winter break, which is in the end of December. There's spring break, and I guess you can consider summer break a sort of a break as well. Spring break for sure, students are able to work if they choose to be on campus, or if their position is remote and the department still has a need for their continued work. Absolutely. The winter break is a little bit it works a little bit differently because most of, if not all of, the career employees and academic faculty members, they are not working during this time. So if a staff member isn't working, we're not going to have the expectation for student employees to be working at that same time. Of course, they also need supervision and direction. Plus, we want students to be able to enjoy their well-deserved breaks as well. But typically there is a brief period of time in between when finals are over in December and before the winter break starts. That I think is about 1 week's long period of time. But Diana, please correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so there is that brief moment where students can still work. And then, of course, during the summer, students are eligible to continue working as long as they have paid the previous spring quarter's fees. That's the main eligibility requirement to continue working into the summer.
And the thing I'd add to it is, we have over 200 departments who hire a lot of students and rely on those students. So during those break periods, it just slows down, but there are opportunities for students to work during those break periods. Some students are gone, so maybe some students pick up extra hours for the students who are gone, and so it's fluid in that way. So there are those opportunities to work during the breaks.
Thank you for your answers. Let's see. Kind of in the first year experience and prepping for your first year, what are the chances, and this might be hard, what are the chances of getting the job opportunity you apply to as a first year student? And I know Andrew briefly touched upon this when we mentioned it's competitive.
We do say it's competitive, and we know motivation levels are different, and so it's hard for us to run statistics on because some students are really engaged. Some students, their parents are telling them to be engaged, and they're not necessarily applying, but they're told that they probably should be applying. So, but generally what we're seeing is the students who are motivated, if they don't find a job in the first quarter, they usually find one by the second quarter because they want to work, they need to work. They're exhausting all the opportunities. Those are the students that are going on Handshake and saying, "Hey, Andrew, hey, Annika, can I have a one-on-one appointment? I'm not sure, I'm not getting any traction here. What can I do?" And that's where we're jumping in and helping students. And so we see that motivation level is different. Some students, they want to come in and certainly your first time away from from home in your first college experience, it's important to just kind of get acclimated to UC San Diego. This place is massive. It's a city in itself, and it's complicated. And so you're here to be a student. That's the first job number one. And so we definitely want to encourage students to look for opportunities on campus, but it's most important that they get settled and then start looking. And like we said, if students are motivated and they really want to work, they'll continue to pursue those opportunities, and they'll find something in their first year.
It's also going to vary based on job as well, and what a department may be looking for. As students start looking in Handshake and the review postings, you're going to see an important distinction between a lot of different jobs, and that's what we consider what's called a title code. So you'll see a reference to a student 2, student 3, student 4, and student 2s are the lowest level, more like entry level type positions. And so chances are, if you don't have as much work experience coming in, or that those might be higher likelihood. But even that being said, if you're motivated, if you're working hard, if you're doing your resume updates and cover letter and putting in the work, I would say almost any job is attainable if you're putting the work in.
And I see we have a question that's coming up, and it's kind of related to this. And is it easier to start looking with something in your major, or is it better to start with something simple, no matter in or out of your major? So is it better looking, you won't always find, or student won't always find something that's aligned to their major. And, more and more what we see, whatever our major is, and, I know what my major was when I was 18 years old. And I think there's probably many parents on this call, and when they look at what their major was when they were 18 years old and what they're doing now and how their career has progressed, it isn't always aligned in that way. So if there's career opportunities, like some of those profiles that we showcased with Kyle working as a flight assistant, that's incredible, and working with scripts, and some of these other opportunities where it's really Priscilla, where she's that aerospace engineering, and now she's working at SpaceX. That's a trajectory, but not all of them work that way. And so the best thing to do is find a job, get a job, and start getting some experience, because as we mentioned, those experiential learning statistics, those are no joke. And AI is changing the game now. And so what we're seeing in some of the data is those entry-level jobs for college students, they're harder to get now. And so what's going to differentiate and what's going to make a student stand out is getting those work-based skills. So on-the-job skills, whatever that job may be. And if they're working on those competencies, they're going to be able to articulate, oh yeah, I worked in the dining hall, and I was a shift supervisor. I was leading people, and I had to manage people. And there's all those leadership capabilities where they'll be able to, as through that experience, they'll be able to articulate those skills and how that might translate to a job after college.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. That was our final question for the day.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate the engagement, all your questions. Here's our contact information. There's some QR codes. Please be in touch with us. Have your students be in touch with us. Go to Handshake. That's the key takeaway. Have them register in Handshake, get a profile, get that together, and then start searching for jobs. Thank you very much. It's our pleasure to be with you tonight.